Hello, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is the time for us to stitch together while talking about Sashiko. Alright, let me check the audio first. Alright, that sounds good. I did not bring that much topic today. I will mention about the exhibition in Japan. In fact, I have a JPEG, so let me show you this one. And this is the exhibition in Japan in Japanese, so this might not be the most suitable announcement in the live streaming in English, but just in case, if somebody is in Japan, we're gonna have the exhibition, Sashiko exhibition, between April 19th to 22nd in Tsukishima area. I will not be there, I will be only there on 21st afternoon, but my mother Keiko will be there all the time. So if you like to visit that, please try to be there in between those days. It is free to get in, and you can touch the Sashiko jacket. It's not like a exhibition or art. You cannot touch it or behind the glass. It is more like the place for you to feel, see, and experience the Sashiko. Alright, so this is one announcement, and because I made an announcement, I don't have that much topic to talk about. I got some questions on the Instagram and somewhere, so I will mention about those things as well. But let me start talking. Alright. It's all good, right? It's all good. Today is a little bit cold day, and my fingers are a little bit. I should be having some. What do you say? That heater? Not a heater. The hand warmer that helps you to have a better stitches. But today I forgot to bring it, so it might be a little bit clumsy. Oh, hello D. Yeah, thank you for that. I hope. Well, Keiko is going to offer the exhibition. This is going to be the first one, but it won't be the last one. I think she's going to offer it whenever she can. And there will be another time for me to have somebody in Japan as well. So next time, come on. I gotta go back to the regular routine. Although, until the end of the April, I'll be a little bit of hustle, busy. I will have the workshop in Aya Fiber Studio in Florida. Thank you so much for the checking that link. I believe that the workshop got full. So unfortunately, there's no more seat available in Florida. I don't know if there's any more seat left in New York, Auburn one, but if you would like to join the workshop, in-person workshop, that will be the next opportunity, which is in October. I don't plan to have any workshop over the summer unless something comes up. But I try to not to have the workshop as many times as I should or would. I mean, of course, you are always welcome to visit my hometown and arrange the workshop for yourself. But those workshop with some other people, that's gonna be a different. God, my nose is a little stuffed, so am I talking might not be the best one today. Next time you go down to the Stewart, I want to sign up. My mother lives in Stewart half of the year. Ooh, October in New York. Yes. And yes. October in New York, like Upper New York, Auburn, Rochester area. It's really Upper New York. There's a I cannot pronounce that word. Give me that. There's a word for that. It's an art center, I guess. I guess it's not a good way to say that, but it's sure. Come on. I will check my Instagram. It's there. I cannot check the Instagram. What the heck? Sorry. I will check the Instagram here. Come on. Anybody can read that? Oh, sorry. Just a second, okay? There we go. Shame for heart. God, it's really difficult to pronounce this word. Yeah, the center I will be doing the workshop in October is Shewe in Fort Art. Sorry. Sharing forth? Well, anyway, please Google that. So yeah, that's the one is in the Stewart, Florida, and another one is in Auburn, upper north of the northern part of the New York. And yes, thank you, Jason, for mentioning that. I forgot about it too. I do have one small, very short lecture about cultural sustainability online. With the FIT. It's coming next week, so I can show you that attachment. Sorry, come on. Nope, it does not show. Nope, it does not show. Well, I will list it somewhere. It is on March 16th, noon, 12:15 to 1 p.m. That's gonna be the very short lecture on the website. Oh, I can link the event. Sorry for the unpreparedness for today. It is like that all the time. All right. Seventh. So that's the announcement for the my lecture, small lecture at FIT, and I will talk about Sashiko and cultural sustainability, and it will not be like the one I did in QuiltCon. To be honest, I still don't know 100%. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be the lecture or discussion. Or I don't think it's a panel discussion because I'm going to be the only one. But am I going to give the lecture? Or there will be a person who will be asking the question. She's a Japanese international student from Japan in FIT. So we will have some questions, but probably, as long as I understand, it's gonna be 20 minutes, 30 minutes of my not a lecture, talk, and then Q&A. What kind of things will I be covering in the FIT presentation? What will it be oriented? Well, it's the cultural sustainability, and sustainability is more like, it's not like environmental sustainability. Unfortunately, the Sashiko's culture is not sustainable right now, like as of now, because of so many information that has been decided as the answer, yet they are not. They are the answers in one part, but it's not the answer for everything. Yet they are expecting to have only one answer for everything. As the result, Sashiko has becoming something completely different. And I don't think it's sustainable. It's not sustainable. The culture will not be the same over time. So in order to change that, in order to preserve that sustainable culture, we have to do one thing, and that's what I'm going to talk about there. Even that, FIT is not getting the, well, it's not their fault, because there's not that, well, it might be their fault. They did not do the good research about what I'm writing. But before 2000, let's say 20, or even 2018, there were no English documents explaining about this. Nobody mentioned that Sashiko is not the word for the mending. And that's the language barrier, right? Like because of the English, anything can be written in English is way detached from what is happening in Japan, or what's happening in Japan. And that has been like that, has been like that last 20 years, 30 years. And I happen to be able to speak English, so, and I happen to understand what's going on. Why do you practice Sashiko? Well, if you're gonna ask that question, you might want to go back to my Instagram. It's too fundamental to ask that question. You'll find the answer. Why do I practice Sashiko? Well, simply because I like it, but there's a little bit more than that. And you might want to read that question. Just a second. So yeah, Sony-san, I don't know. That would be great to see you in Stewart or even New York, upper New York. However, just I'm being honest, I don't know if you enjoy it. I'm like, if you come to stop by and to chat with me, or to have dinner with me, or anything, that'd be great. And I'm very much happy to spend time with you, and you can touch anything I bring, or you can even wear that. The workshop wise, you may surpass that already. So I do not recommend those 3 days workshop to somebody who actually have been doing Sashiko the way we do already. The workshop is more like, so my workshop itself, the class itself is more like fundamental, right? So I teach how to ride a bicycle. That's kind of the essence of the first workshop. That's the first workshop that I teach how to ride a bicycle. And second workshop, the second day and third day, is more like I am taking the people who learn how to ride a bicycle to the bike park. So I don't teach anything specifically new. I share a lot of application how we can enjoy Sashiko with the idea and techniques that we share on the first day. So, I mean, I shouldn't be saying those things because, I have to. It's better for them to have the more students, more, signups. But that being said, probably not. We've been doing that already. The difference between 3 days the difference between 3 days and 1 day full day workshop is that either I guide them through the application, or I just end the workshop with explaining and expecting that they will continue doing Sashiko. In this 3 days workshop, I kind of force or take them to do the little bit not a further. I don't want to say further or even like advanced. It's more like little bit like I don't want to say more. What is the good word for that? Something. I called application in practice. This is thanks to the QuiltCon. We were thinking about what is the best way to call it, and I think that's the best way to explain that. That's the difference between the two workshops, and I don't think you might benefit from that. But if you're new, that's a great way to learn. That's a great way to start. So today, did I bring anything? Yeah, I did not bring any topics. Exhibition in Japan. In any case, maybe a trip out to Pennsylvania, that would be the best probably, because I don't have to worry about carrying all the stuff. You are always welcome to this house, and you can always, I always wish I could sit and see other people stitching. Yep, that's what I do. That's what I'm doing right now. The question from Jason, that's very fundamental. So I really want them to read first. But at the same time, I'm not trying to be mean by saying that, because why do I practice Sashiko is very, very long. And I don't think I can explain that anywhere in words. I am trying my best, but it's probably gonna take like 3 hours lecture nonstop. Simply speaking, if I have to summarize it, I would say I practice Sashiko just because. Like, why do you eat? Because I have to live, right? Why do you breathe? Just because. And Sashiko for me is like that. Would you like to keep the air clean so that you can breathe in something fresh? Of course you do. That's what I like to do. Many people try to find the reasons that I keep doing Sashiko, but there's no such a thing as the reasons. There are so many reasons, so many stories. But if I say like just because, probably people cut and paste that area and start saying like it's Zen-like, or it's like, Eastern style, or, whatever they want to see. People only, in this society, we always listen to what we would like to listen instead of what is being shared. We can always find the answer. We can always find the answer we want by Googling it. If you Google enough, if you search enough, we can find the answer we would like to have. And that's the nature of the society. It's not even good or bad. It's just we have to know that the answer itself can be very fragile. The Google's answer is probably right or probably not right. It's us. It's the people. It's us who use those informations or data or even answers to get what we want. And unfortunately, we, including myself, cut and paste the information. And that's the reason I do not really offer the short answer, because they really cut and paste. And the cultural appropriation is one thing. Like when I mention about cultural appropriation, most of the people who do not like the idea of cultural appropriation imagine what I would say instead of listening to what I'm saying. So my message, like, I want everybody to enjoy Sashiko, right? I really like you to enjoy Sashiko. But when I bring the word cultural appropriation, their reaction is, how could you say that? How could I what? Say that? Say what? So they think immediately that I will be, well, I will be accusing them, and they will be defensive like that's all, like, in a moment. But that's not my point. That's not my point, and culture is supposed to change, and there's no, I don't still understand the whole concept of appropriation, but I do respect the other people who speak up about that. That being said, it's just I would like to keep the color I want. Like, let's say I like blue, right? I like blue. Like right now, my house's roof is blue. The front door is blue. We paint blue. Inside is like high reflective white, but outside we have like a blue door, blue roof. I like blue. We chose blue. If somebody else came to our house and decided to paint it to pink, and they could do it because they have more privilege, let's say, then do I say like, well, it happens, so we have to suck it? Or, do we fight back? And I'm not probably fighting back for the purpose of fighting back. I just want them to know why we like the blue, why we chose blue, why we have blue. So this analogy is not probably explaining well. But what I want to say is that Sashiko introduced in English is not wrong. Any color is not, like, any color is good. There's no such a thing as wrong color. But they define what is the right answer, right color. They define what is right in color. As the result, we have to give up some of the other colors, and that's not healthy or nice or sustainable. Near Syracuse, yes, I think so. The Auburn is near Syracuse, like a Buffalo, like Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Syracuse, Auburn. I cannot pronounce that now. Yeah, but like upper state of the New York. And then probably after that, so the after October 10th, what is planned in the next year is hopefully QuiltCon again. I submit the application, so it's up to them right now. Hopefully, that'd be really honored to do it. Or after that, it's gonna be in June 2024, not this June, the June after that. I will be in Minnesota. This is still not confirmed yet, but probably. I mean, I would like to make it happen, so I'll be in Minnesota St. Paul. I think it's Minneapolis. But those are the schedule, and I will update that on my website. But as of now, those are 2 workshops in 2023. Just a second だけそれを注意。よし。I hope this camera mic is not broken. It is kind of difficult to talk about those things. But somebody got to talk about it. Somebody has to talk about it, and I wasn't planning to be one of those who talk about it, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I happen to be able to speak English. So it's not like being able to speak to communicate. I have to be able to even argue for that. And if I did not marry to my wife, I wouldn't be able to speak this much English. We used to argue a lot, and I hope she's not awake. But yeah, so it's the marriage require a lot of talks, right? It's not an argument; it's a lot of talks, and without that, I wouldn't be able to even I would be able to communicate by just coming to the U.S. and graduating from the universities. I did not write any I did not go to the master with PhD, so I didn't have to really defend my thesis or so I did not have that much English ability, neither to communicate, neither to try to elaborate what I'm trying to say or even protect, I guess, to what I'm trying to say. Just a second, I'm still thinking. I don't want to go there. Well, so I probably mentioned this one in last week, but well, did I mention that last week? If not, if I did, please forgive me for repeating this. But I had exactly same I thought I had a deja vu. But when I get my YouTube copied somewhere, for some reason I find it, and I don't know why I find it, but I found one copied, and there was the discussion about what is the right pronunciation for Sashiko, and they used my English version YouTube live streaming to get the probably right pronunciation for the Sashiko. That's not right pronunciation. There's no such a thing as right pronunciation. I mean, there's a pronunciation we use in Japanese language, but there's no such a thing as right pronunciation. But there's so many experts right now on the internet saying like this is it has to be like this way or that way, and they even argue. They argue in between, and it's interesting that every argument is done in English, not Japanese. So if they or you want to learn the natural way to pronounce Sashiko, then please try to go to my Japanese live streaming. And the Sashiko I talk about there is the natural way to talk about it. When I talk Japanese, when I speak in Japanese, I will use the word Sashiko as the way it's supposed to. In English, I follow the phonics as much as I can. So when I say SHI sound, it's not gonna be shi, it's gonna be SHI shi. So there's English has the right way to pronounce defined by phonics, and I try to follow that. So in that case, because of that, the pronunciation of Sashiko argued in English is kind of irrelevant. I mean, I really appreciate them to try to learn what is the right pronunciation, but the knowing what is the right pronunciation is not gonna define the teacher or good teacher or not. I mean, that's not that's idiotic. So don't worry about the pronunciation too. I mean, if you want to call it, I mean, I want it to be, I want it to be understandable. Sashiko, it's a little bit too much because I don't follow that phonics. So as natural as you can, what they can. So many interesting I cannot pronounce any word today. So many interesting things happening right now. So oops. Yeah, I think the issue of cultural appropriation and also, well, the issue of cultural appropriation is going to, how can I say that? Let me think about. The issue of cultural appropriation will be more dramatic, more probably aggressive. It has to be that way to protect from another extreme party. So please remember that what I said here, because I will be quiet to those arguments because they decided already what they want to say. So I cannot make them listen to what I'm trying to say if they don't want to listen. So in that case, what I have to do is just wait until they get tired. There are two kind of people in Sashiko. Well, I hope you understand this one. There are two kinds of people in Sashiko. Can you guess what? In Sashiko field, there are two kind of people. Like in probably the biggest categorization, there are two kind of Sashiko artisans. And you may be surprised, but these two categories are quite. it's almost mutually exclusive. Like they don't really match it together. They don't even overlap. Well, of course, very, very few overlap. No, they don't actually overlap. And it sounds like the one category is bigger than the other, but it's almost like 50-50. Those two categories are quite significant in terms of the difference. People who do it for no reason just because, and then whatever the opposite is. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's very close. That's very close. But look, it's more simple. It's really more simple, more primitive. It is very good, but it's really more simple and primitive. Which is that in Sashiko there is one category one category of what's going on today? Just let me drink the water. There's one category of people who stitch and who do not stitch. Surprisingly, there are people who do not stitch. Trust me, I was one of those. There are people who stitch and who do not stitch. And again, like I said, those are, I think it's mutually exclusive, but there's some probably wrapping in between, but there's, of course, a degree of how much they stitch. But there are people who do not stitch, yet they would like to call themselves Sashiko Master, or so it's really not that deep. It's really, really primitive. And there are people who think they know the best and look at the commercial trend there. Yeah. So what Candida's and Sonny-san said is more, it's more like a ramification of what I have categorized. So for those who stitch, we will stitch regardless. So we will be in the Sashiko's field no matter what. Just because, that's what Sonny-san said, just because. So just because we stitch, we will not move to anywhere else. Of course, we can move to somewhere else. We can go to knitting or crochet or the other art or craft. There's no obligation to stay here. But we are here to stitch, so we cannot understand those category of people who choose not to stitch. But there are people who even does not like to stitch or that cannot stitch. Cannot. It's not like do not. It's cannot stitch. And why are they in this category? Because the word Sashiko bring them some benefit, profit, or name, fame. So there are people who does not stitch. And I'm not worried about those who does not stitch much, to be honest, because they will not be here after a few years. They don't change that. They don't change the culture. So of course, those two categories will have many ramifications under that. But I think the biggest categorization is those two, who stitch and who doesn't, those who stitch and those who do not stitch. And I'm not worried about those who do not stitch. Therefore, I do not worry about those big brand much. They will not be stitching when the trend is over. That is why I would like to make sure to preserve the community right now I have. Because we have the community, or we have a group of people who love to stitch. And that's the most important, most important things in what I do. So it's not a book, it's not a lecture, it's nothing. It's just one thing I need to make sure to preserve, protect as the people who like to stitch. As long as I do it, the culture will be somewhat preserved. It might be a little bit different, but it's okay. As long as somebody's stitching. Because everything exists in stitching when it comes to Sashiko. So I used to think that I can understand the whole picture of Sashiko without stitching, but nah, no. That's not the case. I don't like these small circles. Well, let's see what the future generation is gonna do. It's what I can do is to leave as many information as possible. All that information includes stories, videos like this, the people who can stitch. Those are also something I can leave behind. It's not me who define what they want. It's them. And when they make decision, I want that decision to be fair, so that they don't have to regret that they didn't know. If they know it, that's their choice. If they know it, that's their choice. If they did not know it, that's kind of our responsibility. That's my job. So technically speaking, if I have, if I can make my ends meet, I don't have to charge any money. Yet I have to, as of now, to make ends meet, and also I'm very scared of offering it for free, because free is not like free of charge will encourage them to not to spend more time on it. But in order to learn what I teach, one has to spend at least 5 hours. 5 hours is minimum. Maybe 6 hours, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, maybe 2 years, but 5 hours is minimum. When I offer it for free, probably nobody will take that much time. Then, if I do not succeed in that, then what's the point of doing it? So, it's really a difficult thing to do. But again, it's not impossible. I thought that was impossible, but it's not impossible, so that's all good. Why is not impossible? Because I see the result. It's quite powerful to see the result. Just a second, okay? I don't wanna. What should I do here? Oh, the reason I'm stitching this in not Dasana pattern is that I have to make this as a sample. So when I stitch on some other patterns, I have to stop frequently to find the way to go. Tiny circle. I'm about to start some Marushipo. I'm really afraid of the tiny circle. And well, don't be afraid. You can hate it, but you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to like it, but you don't have to hate it. Don't be afraid of that. But yeah, it's really not the best thing to do. I wish I didn't have to do that, but still, again, I have to make sample. I made one sample 2 years ago. Wow, 2 years ago. I made one sample 2 years ago, but we decided to make like a table mat. So I cannot show the wrong side or back side of the fabric, which is not going to be a good sample. Sakura. So after Japan trip, I will go back to the Asanoha patterns. In that case, I can talk more. I probably can focus on the talking. I will stop repronouncing all the word. I don't have to doubt what is wrong with me. It is this pattern. My brain is taken by this pattern. As a result, I don't really speak. By the way, is mic okay? Microphone okay? After 45 minutes of talking or mumbling, is the audio okay? I hope the audio is okay. Audio good. Thank you. Well, one thing I'm really excited. Sounds good. Thank you. One thing I'm really excited about going to Japan and having those exhibitions is that I will meet some Japanese Sashiko artisans I have taught. I cannot believe that I have taught Sashiko to them because they are extremely good. I am kind of jealous for that matter. They're really good. They're extremely good. I wish I could do Sashiko like them. But it is my pleasure, sincere pleasure to see them, meet them finally. We know each other for like 5 years over the internet, but this is the first time to see each other, meet each other in person. So that would be one thing, and we can judge each other as Sashiko too. I mean, not judge in a different, like, bad way. It's more like criticize each other. No, not a criticize. Appreciate each other. And I would like to take some photos about it too. The goal, my not even goal. Like, probably this might be the answer to the question to the Jason. What do I mean by preserving the culture? Like, do I have to be advocate or activist to protect the culture? No, I cannot. I don't want to be. Like, do I keep offering the lecture to protect the culture? No, that's not it. Oh, you're there. Oh, thank you. Like, what do I want to do is more like, I would like to increase the number of people who has the same understanding of Sashiko so that they can keep stitching. For those who like current Sashiko, I don't think they can stitch for 10 years, 20 years, or even 50, 60 years. Without getting the core, it can be quite boring. It's really could be boring. Think about it. 50 hours, 50 years, 60 years. Can you imagine that people stitching that long? Like, I stitched for 24 hours non-stop. That was already insane. And people thought that I lost my mind. I may be losing my mind, but there's something going on there that explain those insanity. And interestingly, people are sharing the same insanity everywhere in the world after taking my class. I thought that was impossible to share that, but I am sharing somehow. I don't know how, but I am doing that. And by doing it, the community will be small, it's very slow, but little bit bigger by bigger every year. And I have, I don't have that many years left to share that. But after all, if somebody is stitching like I am right now, at some point of the history, they will be able to. That means that I preserve the culture. It's not like I have to register our culture to be protected by government. No, the culture ends when the last person who stopped doing that. And I would like to avoid that. So it will be anybody here who's been stitching. I mean, you don't have to take the workshop. You don't have to, it's not only limited to those who take my workshop. Of course, you can learn the same things by watching the live streaming on YouTube's, reading my, post, Instagram. But I believe that I am sharing something that nobody has shared yet, which was very normal for the Japanese people to receive. I'm not sharing nothing extraordinary. It was very ordinary for Japanese, especially when I was a child. Everyone had the exactly same thing. Those are the people who stitch for 50 hours, 50 years or 60 years. Those are not explained or introduced in English. And I have to somehow, not have to, I would like to make sure to pass it down. But, that means we are saving the culture. Not a culture. Not saving, we're protecting the culture. So I hope I'm answering some questions. It is very, your question's very good. As the result, I have to kind of ask you to read more. I wish I could have a book that you can read and then, get it. But unfortunately, that does not exist. Where should I go next? I don't like these patterns. Let's check the. See, almost. It's very scattered. It's very scattered. Oh, the idea of poverty check, taking things from poor culture and community is rebelling then the new luxury. Is it okay for companies to use it this way for Sashiko? Is it gentrification? I cannot pronounce it again. A company like Ralph Lauren did a collection inspired by the US Dust Bowl. Is this okay as practice? To answer those questions, first question, poverty check. I don't know about those concepts, and I don't think I am well educated enough to talk about it. But defining the boro or even sashiko for the poor or the stitching in the poverty can be already a mistake. It was very true that they were stitching because they could not afford it. So yes, the poor can be the word for that. But that's our definition of poor, and I don't know if it's appropriate to not appropriate. Is it appropriate to say that? So if they are applying the culture borrowed to the luxury items, I don't have any logical problems on that. logical, logical. Like my brain does not say like it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem, but I feel it's a problem because it's disgusting. It's just simply disgusting. Like, the my well used, probably you have heard so many times already, analogy is that Boro is like a toilet to us. It's very dirty, very something you really don't want to even touch. So I do, of course, make Boro, but it took all very long time to change that mindset. And I could do that because I did not go through those actual time that I had to use Boro. I have heard many stories about it. That's why I had a psychological barrier, but I did not go through that as my first experience. So I was okay to change that little by little. But it's for some of us, it's very, very difficult to feel like a Boro jacket means like, wow, I'm sorry that you have to wear that. We wish you could get something nicer, but again, that's that becoming the fashion, right? And logically speaking, I don't find it wrong because they will not be there. You say they're not poor. What do you mean by this? They are rich in stories and experience. Um, there is not a standard. We can define them as poor because we have our standard. But they did not have any comparison because that's what they did in their life. So, what is going to be a good analogy? For the people who lived in the, let's say, 200 years ago, we might be poor because we are using a lot of Wi-Fi or those waves, ultrasonic. Those may be harmful for our human body. We don't know. We don't know that. I don't. I love Wi-Fi and I love internet, so like I cannot live without it. But the definition is very already based on the privilege we have. So those who define Sashiko as the poor stitching in poor is lacking the awareness of what it could be for them. And don't get me wrong, I am also the one who said that Sashiko was in poor, but with talking to many people, they advised me that it could be. So there's a better way to say that. It's the stitching happened, stitching practice in the harsh condition with limited resources, but not a poor poverty. Edo Japan was an extremely impoverished economic state. The difference between the upper class and lower class were extreme. Yeah, but that's not a. I don't know if there's like a sashiko in Edo much. No, I don't think so. Edo is not a Japan only. Like that's the problem already in the Western culture. We kind of pick one place and we define, generalize everything else. But Edo is only one part of Japan in that time. And there are so many stories that has not been picked. And it is same in Sashiko, same in Boro. And there's a reason for that too, probably. So I'm not saying it's wrong to say it's poor, but I choose not to. And I will, not will, I would like to ask the people who listen to this live stream to think about it. You don't have to really follow that. There are people who think that it's, it might be misconceptual. And is it so about if it's okay for the big company to use it or not? It was a big deal when Nike used the Sashiko for their sneakers, and I'm okay with that. I don't really have any problem with that. And the reason is exactly what I talked already. They will not be changing the culture. Nike will not change the culture of Sashiko, no matter what they do. Those who buy Sashiko sneakers from Nike are not the stitchers. I am like, of course, there might be some stitchers, but that's not a majority. They are the skaters or those who like the activities. They like sneakers, happen to be Sashiko design. So they're not gonna change the culture that much. Of course, it might be some trigger or some, cues to the bigger change, but I don't think it's a problem at all. The problem is for those who teach. The trend itself can be very fragile, but when they start teaching based on the trend, then the trend becomes the toxic. So trend itself is not, it's not a good or bad, it just happens. How we get out of it is gonna be the issue. Not an issue, it's the choice. Okay, after this after this thread, which is quite long, I will stop doing the live stream. God, I have to sleep too. Do you think then when others use it like Nike, it's not appropriate to use the word borrow? In general term, it is probably cultural appropriation. But does it affect me? No. Do I get hurt? No. In general term, it is probably. I'm not getting the cultural appropriation 100%. But what they did could be categorized as cultural appropriation. And if somebody's in pain, we probably have to, we have to stop using it, or we have to think about it. But personally speaking, it's not really. So even if they do not acknowledge the stories behind it, I don't find it as the problem much. It would be great if they can hear my stories, but it's not equal to the cultural appropriation if they don't acknowledge it. That's why I say that it is not the cultural appropriation when they, as long as they try to acknowledge the stories. But if there's no information available to them, then that's not a matter of cultural appropriation or not. It's just unfortunate. However, those who think they are the expert in Sashiko, that's a different story, right? Nike never claims that they are the expert in Sashiko. If they did, then I probably got a job there. In that case, I hope they will hire me for their Nike's culture or something. Then I will have a full-time job that I don't have to worry about my insurance anymore. Well, that's a dream come true. No, I'm just kidding. Then I will stop. I won't have time to stitch. So it is cultural appropriation. Sorry, the pain from cultural appropriation comes when they intentionally try to change the cultural context, which happens mainly in teaching. Do you, when thinking about it as a cultural appropriation, do you think it can limit what Sashiko and Boro can evolve into as an art form rather than history? It's not, again, that's not me who decided, right? Like, why does Sashiko has to evolve to the art form where some Japanese, including myself, say that it's not art? Did anybody ask the world to make it like the art? I don't think so. So it's already a choice by privileged people to make it art. Yeah, like I sometimes get a message like, why don't you be happy that we are practicing Sashiko for you? I did not ask. Like there are comments like that sometimes, why don't you be happy that we are choosing your culture to enjoy? Like, wow. That's one privilege, right? That's one privileged comment. I don't want, to be honest, I don't want Sashiko to be art, or I don't consider Sashiko as the art neither to begin with. And it does not have to be evolving. It's not, it's there. It's my children's and children's, the next generation's choice. But I want that choice done by somebody who stitch, not somebody who just like the word or like the sound or like the patterns. One thing I can define is Sashiko is stitching. Sashiko is stitching. That's one definition that I can give you right now. Sashiko has to be stitching. It's not mending only. It's not technique. It's not nothing. It's none of those that I explained right now. But it's stitching. That's one thing for sure. I'm not doing art. I am not doing art at all. I am not doing art, and you probably have many questions about the reason I don't consider what I do as art. And the answer is again on my Instagram. You don't exactly do it for the same context as what it was once. Yes, you have a lot to read. I'm not trying to be me. It's this. There's no time right now for you to explain that. I mean, so for the others, I am answering to him because he is a college student. He's a college student from the Instagram, and I asked him to read or watch some of my YouTubes, and then he came back. So I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible right now with using this live streaming setting. But the question, like your follow-up question will be two of those. Why is Sashiko not art? And what I'm doing right now is not exactly same as the people who used to be doing. There is the answer for those two questions on my Instagram. Probably some of you here knows the answer already. Not an answer, but the reply to that question. It's not easy. You can ask somebody here. If you can ask somebody else here, I don't know how, but if you leave the comment here, somebody might help you. Probably Sony-san or Candida might know that. DE might know those answers. There's a specific answers that I do not consider Sashiko as the art. All right. Thank you so much for watching this Sashiko live streaming, and I really enjoy the questions. So when I say please read, it's not that I wanna be mean. Well, I sometimes be mean, so I have to differentiate that, right? I sometimes give them the mean reply. So it's not always. But anyway, I try to not to be mean. That's what I can promise. Try not to be. But just, there is a little bit of, we have to change our values to understand what Sashiko is, especially since we live in the Western culture, Western, like language-wise. I'm speaking English right now. In order to understand what Sashiko is, we have to switch that to the little bit of, not even a little bit. We have to give up. We have to give up some of the ideas. And that is not easy, and probably no matter what I answer to the questions, it's going to be questions after that. So try to find that answer, and I really appreciate for you being here, everybody here, and please leave the comments or questions if you have any other questions that you want me to talk about.